Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marcus show. I'm your host, Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined with Mr. Terry Fator. And you know what? Let's bring him on down. How you doing today, Terry?
I am so good. It's a beautiful morning here in Las Vegas and getting ready to go to Mississippi tomorrow to do a show. And got a fantastic tour planned this year. I'm excited. So it's great talking to you, Marcus.
I love that, Terry. So, Terry, first question, my friend. What does the word authentic slash authenticity mean to you?
It means being yourself. It means being who you feel like you were born to be. And no matter what other people are telling you, I'm a person who never had a lot of encouragement from my father. He wanted me to be a different person. And I tried, but I couldn't. So I had to bring my own authentic self. And also, when I went on America's Got Talent in 2007, everybody else around me, just about everybody else, was trying to present a certain type of character to the audience. And I just wanted, as you said, I wanted to be my authentic self and say, listen, I'm just going to put myself out there, be myself. And if America loves me, I'll win the show. And if they like somebody else better, they'll win it. And I ended up winning. So by being my authentic self. So I hope that answers the question.
Oh, Terry, that's fantastic. I wish people would really understand, right, Terry? And you said it best. People were trying to be something that they weren't on America's Got Talent. And you were yourself, and you said it best. If people like me, they like me. If they like somebody better, they like somebody better. And
That's
the
right.
fact you were yourself, right, Terry? And the fact you were just honest and authentic and real, people loved you. And I love that for you because Terry, this is what we need more of. People like you saying, just don't worry about what everybody else thinks. Just be you. That's what
Exactly.
matters most than anything else.
I totally agree with that. And we live in a world where everyone is always trying to tell us who to be, or who we should be, or who we shouldn't be, and we need to dig down deep inside of our hearts and find out who are we. And especially parents. A lot of times, parents want to live vicariously through their children. That was what happened with me. And I just, my father wanted me to go into a different type of a career and different type of a life, and it was just never what I felt the calling to be and do. And so I just had to continue plowing forward and becoming who my authentic self was, and it worked out quite well for me.
Terry, for people that don't know you, and I've seen your work, you're phenomenal at what you do, entertainer. You are very good at making people laugh. You have a great personality. People that don't know you, right, Terry? Please tell them a little bit more about your journey and then your career now in entertainment.
Well, I started doing ventriloquism when I was 10 years old. I found a book in my school library on how to be a ventriloquist, and it looked fascinating. It looked interesting, and so I checked that book out and felt like I could do this. And so I went and bought a little puppet at Sears for $10 and started using that. And I was performing at churches and birthday parties and doing some things at my school for the school talent shows and things. And just by the time I was 11, I really felt like this is what I want to do. I want to be a ventriloquist. In fact, I told myself at 11, I want to be the best ventriloquist in the world. And so I relentlessly worked on that. I spent they say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. I've spent hundreds of thousands of hours practicing, learning, going over, learning how to do voices, learning how to do songs, learning how to say anything that I want to say without using my lips. And so I got my first professional puppet at 18, and the rest is history. I literally started just doing nothing but shows. But I also sing. So I had a band. I started a band in 1989 and went 15 years with that band. And then I decided, my big dream since I was 11 was to be a professional ventriloquist. But even when I was in the band, we would do about 10 or 15 minutes of just me singing, doing my impressions of singers. And then I would pull out a puppet and let the puppet do a couple of songs in a funny routine. And then I would do about 10 or 15 more minutes, pull out another puppet and do it. So I was still doing ventriloquism even when I had my band. But I felt that heart calling in 2002. I told my bandmates, I said, you guys, I've loved this. It's been a blast, but I need to follow that dream. I need to follow my heart. I want to try to be a professional ventriloquist and have a ventriloquism show. And so I worked really, really hard to put together my own show with just me and puppets on stage. And 5 years later, I went on America's Got Talent, and the whole world changed.
Love that. I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you heard Terry say that he found this passion at a young age. He didn't let anything deter him or knock him off his journey. I love that. Then he also said, you know what? I like music. I'm going to do this too. But then he said to himself, if I'm going to give myself the best opportunity to be what I've always wanted to be. I'm going to have to leave the band. I'm going to have to pursue this. And he did that. And then he said in 2007, the whole world saw him and his life changed. But I hope you understand the dedication, the discipline, and the hard work. I have a formula in life: discipline plus execution equals results. You were
That's right.
disciplined, you executed, and then the results came. And now here we are. I love this. I have one more question, Terry, about this. We're going to get into your career. What does being authentic, or how does being authentic, Terry, help you to excel in your chosen career path?
Because when you're authentic, you're not looking for a goal like, I want to be rich and famous. You're looking to be the best at what you do. So if your goal is to be rich and famous and it never happens, you're going to feel like a failure. If your goal is to be the best you can possibly be at whatever your chosen profession or your chosen field or whatever it is that you have a passion for, you're going to have a satisfying life, you're going to have a fulfilled life, and you're never going to feel like that your life was a failure. I made the decision early on that I just wanted to be the best ventriloquist in the world. And I said, I may or may not get discovered. But regardless of that, at the time I was playing schools, elementary schools, a lot of them. And I said, if it comes to the point where I never get rich and famous and nobody ever knows who I am, if a 5-year-old is at one of those or a 6-year-old is at one of my shows, when in 50 years, I want them to tell their grandkids, I saw the best ventriloquist I ever saw when I was 6. And that became my goal. It was not about getting famous. It was not about, having millions of dollars. Doing the best I could. Anytime I put my hand to whatever it was I was doing, literally put his hand. Right. Okay. That was Winston. He'll be joining us. Um, so, but that's authenticity. When your goal is not to reach a certain point as far as monetary success or fame, but to just be the best at whatever you decide you want to do. And you will absolutely find yourself finding fulfillment in life, and you'll be a happy person. Happiness is not a destination, it's a journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, happiness is not a destination, it's a journey. I have a saying, Terry, if you have a finish line in life, you're in a lot of trouble, because you should
Mm-hmm.
never have a finish line. You should always want to get better, be more. Before we get into your career, right, Terry, I know you probably went through lots of ups and downs, and you got into America's Got Talent, won, and things have gone up. You still probably had trouble in your journey, anybody else. But before we get to that, I have an equation, okay, Terry? I tell people, focus more on the output than the outcome. Focus
Ah,
more on the output, not the outcome. You take care of the output, the outcome takes care of itself. Can you please tell our global audience, Terry, how much you focus on the output? And then when the opportunity came on America's Got Talent, the outcome took care of itself.
that's a perfect way to put it. Focus on the output instead of the outcome. So I had been working for 20 years. I'd been traveling with my band, and then I'd been traveling as a solo ventriloquist. And my goal was to be the best I could possibly be and to continue writing new material, creating new characters. And so what happened was, when I got on America's Got Talent, unlike so many other people that are on a show like that, they don't know what they're going to do. You only get about 6 performances. And I had 3, 4 hours. No, I had like 6 hours worth of really quality material that I had spent thousands and thousands of hours practicing, ready. For me, America's Got Talent was not, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next week? For me, I had so much good material. It was, what am I not going to do? I have so many things that I could do. And therefore, when the door opened, I was prepared to go through that door of success. If you don't focus on the output, and the door opens for success beyond your wildest dreams, and you're not prepared, that's on you. The door may close and you may never get another door open. You had better make sure you're ready. But again, I have to stress that if that door never opens, you're going to be happy with yourself if you know you're putting your best foot forward and you're doing the best you can, and you are the best at whatever you do. Whether you're a plumber, you need to be the best plumber in your city and the one that everybody wants to call. You'll be a success if you do that. So it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's writing, singing, plumbing. If you're, a good example of this is my wife and I went to we went to Disney World, and right off of, I want to say, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the casino, but there's a place called the Flying Fish, and my wife and I went in there, and the only place to sit was at the bar. So we go sit at the bar, and the bartender, his name was Bill. He was a rock star. This guy was the best freaking bartender I have ever. We both went away saying, now see, that's how it should be. This guy is an unbelievable. And I got to tell you, we gave him a huge tip because he was so good, and you could tell he loved what he did, and he wanted to be the best bartender. He was incredibly personable. He was fast. It was an amazing. Oh, it's the Boardwalk. That was the name of the casino, or I say casino, the hotel, the resort. And so it's right there, the Flying Fish. Go ask for Bill, and I'm telling you, you're going to see what I'm talking about. A guy that is just more focused on the output than the outcome. He does the absolute best, and it's a joy to be around. It doesn't matter whether you're a cashier at Walmart, or you're a bartender, or you're a server, or you're a flight attendant, or you're a ventriloquist, or you're a football player. That's the key to success, is knowing in your heart that you're doing the best and being the best that you possibly can.
Terry, I love this quote. The enemy of great is not bad, it's good. It's saying you can do good enough. But if you want to be great, like Terry, it takes the hours, the dedication, the discipline, the hard work, the crafting. It's just amazing. So, Terry, let's get into that. So, you talk about you have character, stuff like that. You talked about Winston here a moment ago. Can you please explain, Terry, for us, kind of give us like a little bit of a blueprint of your journey? Like, how do you come up with your material? How do you learn how to really work on stuff? Like, let's say it's a craft. Like, instead of saying, oh, I'm going to be a ventriloquist. I tell you what, that's what you think. Go ahead and try to do that by yourself with no practice and see how far you get. You will get booed off the stage like you never imagined. So let us a little more into the life of Terry. Like, give us that little bit of a blueprint, what we're really looking into, and how you go about doing your amazing career.
Well, it started by having a really good work ethic. My parents owned a janitorial business from the time I was about 8 years old. And they put me, my brother, and my sister. My brother was 1 year older. My sister was 3 years younger. And we started working very, very hard, long hours from the time we were children. And I made the decision, not because there's anything wrong with being a janitor and doing janitorial work, but that it just wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an entertainer. And so when I found ventriloquism, I started focusing on what I wanted out of life while I was still doing a really good job as a janitor. For example, I said, well, you know what? I want to learn how to sing and talk without moving my lips. So while I'm mopping floors, scrubbing toilets, emptying trashes, cleaning ashtrays, I've got the radio going and I'm singing without, I'm like, don't stop believing, hold on to that feeling while I'm cleaning toilets, because I'm thinking, I want to practice. I want to think about it. So I did not shirk my responsibility at being a good janitor, but I let my mind, while I was doing the labor, think about what it was I wanted to do. And then with the many, many hours of driving, it can get very monotonous, and it can get, if you got a 6 hour or 10 hour or two, sometimes I would have a, 30-hour drive. And that's when I would start creating characters, and I would start writing routines, and I would start practicing. I would again listen to the radio and sing along with my mouth closed, and come up with new characters and new ideas. And I had a little tape recorder that I would write. I would sit there and I'd click on it, and I would say, "Oh, there's a good idea for my Elvis character," and I would say it in there while I was driving. So if you're doing something that you're not really called to do, that you feel like you want to do something else, don't do a bad job on what it is you're doing. But you can put this. Well, another example, I was 17 and I was a waiter at a steakhouse. What did I do? I incorporated my ventriloquism with my waiting. I would serve a plate, and I would have voices coming out from under the steak. I would have voices coming out of the coffee cups. I entertain the people while so what was I doing? I was doing the best job I could do as a waiter. And at the same time, I was practicing what it is I love. So that's really the key, is find the time to work on your passion. And that's really what I always did. So, and another thing is, when the opportunity arrives, don't waste the time. When I was on America's Got Talent, it was about a 3 month, 2.5 to 3 month experience. And I'm going to tell you, I did nothing but work. I rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. So when I got on that stage, in front of those judges, I could have fallen asleep and still done a perfect performance, because I had worked so hard. And I kept saying, people would ask me, they'd say, "Oh, we're going to the beach to spend the day." And I said, "No, no, I'll have plenty of time at the beach after America's Got Talent's over, after the show's over." I didn't know I was going to win it. I didn't think I was going to. After I won it, I have been to Hawaii many, many times, and I've been able to relax on the beach. But I took that 2.5, 3 months, and I did not, if that opportunity arises, that's not the time for you to sit there and say, "I'm going to relax." You get that work done. There's going to be time after the big stuff for you to rest. So I guess that's my advice.
This is just fantastic, because I really live by the saying, consistency beats intensity. And you were consistent in everything you did, practicing for that 2.5, 3 months leading up to America's Got Talent. You did not waver. You didn't take time off. You didn't take your foot off the gas. And I really respect that. Terry, can you just do me a little favor and just talk a little bit more about how, when opportunity arises, right, Terry? Because you said, people says go to the beach, and just be like, "Nope, I'm focused." And now that you've won, and now you have the life you want for yourself and your family. Now you're traveling Hawaii, other people's dime, and going to do shows and all that type of stuff. And now you're living the life that you created for yourself. Nothing was given to you, right, Terry? You worked hard to create the life for yourself. Please talk to our audience about how, when the opportunity is on the horizon to reach that summit, be better at connecting with yourself and your goal, perform better, which will allow you to reach new summits over and over again in your life.
You have to focus, and you have to believe. There's a lot to be said about belief. One of the things I would do is, this is many, many 5, 10 years before, after America's Got Talent, I signed the biggest deal in the history of Las Vegas. And I did an 18-year run as one of the top headliners in Las Vegas. I finally ended the residency on because I wanted to. I just 200 shows a year. That was just, I wanted to do more with my life and my career. Loved it. Had a dream come true, became a Las Vegas legend, and now I want to go all over the world and tour and perform and take my wife around. We've been to Niagara Falls 5 times, never been able to see the falls, because all I had to do was get back to Vegas. Never had time, just go in, sleep, do the show, come back to Vegas. So that I ended that. But what I would do is, 5 to 10 years before, I started coming to Vegas to watch other performers. And I would sit and I would look at the billboards of these headliners, and I would visualize myself on that billboard. And I would say, one day I'm going to be on that billboard. And about 5 years before I went on America's Got Talent, with no idea I was going to, there wasn't even such a thing as America's Got Talent at the time. I started carrying a Sharpie in my pocket, and I told myself, eventually people are going to want to have my autograph. So I'm going to make sure I have this Sharpie ready. And it's similar to the story of Jim Carrey. He wrote himself a $10 million check that he said, I'm going to cash this one day and I'm going to make $10 million. It takes focus, but it's not just dreams. It's not just getting up there and saying, oh, look, I see myself on a billboard. I said, now I have a goal and I'm goal oriented. And now I'm going to work to become the best I can possibly be. They told me that there's no way, I think it was 6 months before I went on America's Got Talent, I came and auditioned for a variety show here in Las Vegas. And they said, there's no place for a ventriloquist in Vegas. There's never been a headlining ventriloquist in Las Vegas in the history of Vegas. And I said, that's okay. I know I can do this. 6 months later, I won the show, became a headliner in Las Vegas. 18 years worth of one of the top shows in Las Vegas. And by the way, those same people that turned me down and told me there was no place, they came and saw my show when I had the Terry Fator Theater at the Mirage and said, wow, did we make the wrong decision? But you can't let somebody else tell you what you're capable of and what your future is going to be. Now, again, if it doesn't happen, it wouldn't have mattered. I was still going to continue working, and I was still going to be very proud of myself because I knew I was giving the best I could. Whether I played schools and fairs the rest of my life, I was still going to get on that stage and be proud of the performance that I was doing. And I just so happened that, boy, all those opportunities, those doors opened, and I was so ready. I just smiled my way through it.
Love what you said about yourself. I love what you said about Jim Carrey. Did you happen to see the Eddie Murphy documentary where remember how he talked about how the guys that didn't want him in their club and he ended up becoming a star on Saturday Night Live at 18, and then those guys became his managers and ended up
Mm-hmm.
leading his career. It's
Yep.
so amazing, ladies and gentlemen. We have to believe in ourselves. Terry, one of my favorite quotes. This is my last question because you talk about, about you, Winston, your career, all the things you've done. It's hard work, focus, and never giving up, but also belief in yourself. One of my favorite quotes, Terry, never tell your mind negative thoughts in a joking manner. Your body cannot disseminate the difference. Words cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Choose how you talk to yourself and choose wisely. Bruce Lee. Can you please, Terry, tell me how important it is to be your biggest and best supporter the way you believe in yourself? And everybody tell you, oh, no ventriloquist headliner in Vegas. Oh, this is not going to work. Oh, what are you doing? You say, you know what? I hear you all. I respect what you're saying, but this is my journey and I'm going to go with it full throttle.
Yeah, my best advice is to be rebellious against any person or thought that tells you other than what you want to focus on. My father was a person that kept saying, you can't, you won't, you can't, you won't. And I thought, I'm going to be rebellious against that thought. I'm going to do this one day. And like I said, I would get there and I would see myself on those billboards when I came to Vegas. And amazingly, I was actually on those exact same billboards that I would see myself on. And it was 10 years later. It took me 10 years to get there. But every year, 2 times a year, I would take a trip to Vegas just for fun. And I would stand in front of those billboards, and I would say, I'm going to be on that billboard. And I would see myself in my mind. And you just have to rebel. When somebody tells you, no, you can't, you won't, it's not for you. You just have to say, no, no. My dad told me that one time I was maybe 20 and I have a cowboy puppet that yodels. And I said, I think I'd like my puppet to yodel. And my dad said, you can't learn how to yodel. If you can't yodel, you can't. And what did I do? I went and I got a Roy Rogers record, and I spent a year working on that Roy Rogers yodeling. And then a year later, after my father told me that I couldn't learn how to yodel, he came to one of my shows and my puppet yodeled. You just have to be rebellious against any negativity and you are so right. I by the way, I'm a certified hypnotherapist. I know how to I went to the Hypnosis Institute of Texas and got my certification. You are so right. Your subconscious cannot tell the difference between a joke and reality. You always have to tell yourself you can and will. And whatever it is that you're setting your mind to and your heart to, you just have to keep saying, I can do this and I will do this. And this is what I want to do. But again, it can't be a particular outcome like, oh, I want to be famous or I want to get, it has to be, I want to be the best. Now, it's wonderful. And I think it really does help to visualize and see yourself in a certain point, because I really think the universe kind of listens to that. There are forces in the universe that listen to what your will is, depending on how strong your will is. But if it never happens, you will absolutely have a fulfilled and satisfied life, because you in your heart are going to know you're doing the best and giving the best. That's the most important. People ask me, what's your advice? And I say, never stop working toward the dream, whether it comes true or not. If you want to be a guitar player and you think, well, geez, I thought I'd be famous by now, and you put the guitar in the closet, you're never gonna ever. But if you get that guitar out and you play it for half an hour a day, in 20 years, you're going to be a really good guitar player. And who knows what could happen? You have absolutely no idea but the universe is also going to listen to that as well, because it's going to know, wow, this person put this time in, and they're going to bring something or someone into your life that's going to let you be able to play guitar in a band or do something, something that is going to be a lot more fun for you. So just always work toward the dream, whether or not you think it's going to happen or not. Work, work, work.
Very fantastic interview. Do you have anything coming up as far as shows? Anything you want to share with our global audience about coming up, where they can find you, catch you, support you, anything like that?
Yes, just all of my socials, and we're constantly putting fun social things out. I do a lot of songs, and my puppets will sing songs, and I've got a Michael Jackson puppet that'll do Michael Jackson songs, and I've got an Elton John puppet and a Willie Nelson puppet, and we release those on all my social. Everything is at Terry Fator. But one of the things that's real close to my heart is I have a foundation, the Terry Fator Foundation, that focuses mostly on military and first responders. We give away dogs, service dogs for disabled veterans and first responders, and do many things. We've provided an exoskeleton for a man who was completely paralyzed in an accident in the military, and because of the money we've donated, he was able to walk his daughter down the aisle at her wedding. And the way we do this, we don't ask for donations. You're welcome to donate, but go to terryfator.com. First of all, you can see my schedule, so if I come anywhere in the area, get a ticket and come see me. You'll love it. But if you go to my store on the website, 100% of the profits of everything you buy, whether you buy a puppet, t-shirt, deck of cards, we have all kinds of fun things there. 100% of the profits of everything you purchase at the Terry Fator store goes straight to the Terry Fator Foundation and helps veterans, first responders, and other amazing charities like kids with cancer and people with brain injuries. So that's another thing that we didn't talk about, Marques, is giving back. When God does bless you and give you that, it's almost a requirement that you give back. You can't just keep taking. Pay it forward. When God blesses you, and I'm like, look, there's only so much money one person needs, and so therefore I don't need to just keep amassing money, more and more mountains of money. There's a lot of people that need help, and so I like to be that little conduit to help as many as I can, and I give my fans the opportunity to help by purchasing merchandise on my website. So I guess that's the best I can say is that just keep following me on my socials and website, and you'll know what I'm up to.
Gary, this has been sensational. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. You're a busy guy, and you were awesome. And the authentic tip of this great interview is never stop believing in yourself. You heard Terry say, and be rebellious against those that don't believe me. It's okay to be rebellious against those that don't believe in you and your dream.
That's
Again,
right.
my name is Marques Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques Ogden podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.